It's a 1-year-old car. How's that happened? Hey guys, today we're here and we're reviewing these. The Lexus UX200 and the Volvo XC40. Guys, welcome back to what's going to be an exciting episode because we have two of the world's more popular small SUVs. We have the Lexus UX200 there and the Volvo XC40. And today we're going to go through the technology behind the cars. We're going to go take them for a drive. We're going to see how they feel on the road, see how comfortable they are, see which one feels nice for us, and we're going to see the safety features. And then overall, we're going to see which one is better to buy, because these are where things get very interesting. They are both priced the same. Like it's ridiculous how close they are in pricing. And not only that, everything about the cars is similar. Like the sizing, 6 centimeters difference between the two of them. Even the 0 to 100 in both of the cars is 0.4 of a second difference. That's how close they are. So really, these cars are incredibly similar. And we're going to see which one you should buy for your money. And this is where things are going to get interesting, because one of these cars already has a massive problem. And I'm not going to ruin it. We're going to talk about when I'm driving the car. But literally, it's a year old and one of them already has a massive problem. And it's annoying to say the least. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because we've got some awesome videos coming out. And guys, let's just get straight into it. So here we have it. We got the Lexus and we got the Volvo. Now, just to touch on this very quickly, the Lexus has 3 different models that you can choose from. It's got the luxury, it's got the F-Sport, and it's got the sports luxury. And so does the Volvo. The Volvo has the Momentum, the Inscription, and then the R design, they call it. Now, the difference between the Lexus is the engine stays the same in all 3 of them. And it's really just features and options. And the one we have here is the F-Sport. So that's why it's got that sporty looking grille, the sporty looking wheels. When I say sporty looking grille, it's all checkered and it's got all the shadow chrome all around it. It's priced the most. And the Inscription is sort of like the mid-level, because for the Volvo they have 2 of the same engine, so the Momentum and the Inscription are the same engine, and the R design has a more powerful engine. The Inscription here is fully optioned, and this is where it gets interesting, because drive away, that Volvo is actually around 63,000 on road, and that Lexus with the sunroof package is around 65 on road, and the features between them are very similar. Let's have a look at the styling first and foremost. And as you can see, the Lexus and the Volvo, both of them are such different looking cars. Like with the Lexus, as you can see, it is very stylish. It's very I'm not sure if contemporary is the right word, but it's very modern looking, very sleek. All these curvatures in the sides, like look at that curve all across, stuff like that coming across the doors, which really gives the car a lot more angles. And the mirrors, like look at that, they're very sleek. These big wheel arches, which are plastic, of course. And as you can see, the Volvo does have the wheel arches as well, but they're really thin. They're really trying to hide them. Anyways, coming back to the Lexus, look at the bonnet. Look at the bonnet. It's got this, look at this, it's like this curvature from the front to the back of the bonnet, and then it's got more angles here from the headlights. And how do I explain it? It's sort of like the Lexus. When I saw it first, I was like, what were they thinking? It's so angular, it's so out there. But the more I look at it, the more I love it, because it just looks so different. Like when you put it next to the Volvo looks very simple, very, I won't call it crisp, very simple, very smooth. It looks refined, but it's missing some attitude. It's missing some attitude, and I don't know. Anyways, coming back to the designs. Anyways, the Volvo, as we're very spoken about, is very simple, very refined. I do appreciate the styling of it. It's a little bit boxier. They have tried to make it a little bit different with these little curvatures, like that goes in at the doors. Otherwise, looks like a regular SUV, and nothing too extravagant with the grille like every manufacturer is doing. And unlike Lexus, look at that huge grille. Like it's amazing how similar these cars are, yet how different, because they're both the same size. Like I was saying, the Volvo is actually 6 centimeters shorter, and when we jump in the car, it's going to be really hard to explain how, because it seems like the Volvo has a little bit more space in it. But that's where it gets interesting, because the Volvo is about 4 inches taller. So of course it's going to feel like it has a bit more space, because 4 inches, that's a good amount. That's a very good amount. And actually what that means is the ground clearance is a whole 5 centimeters more for the Volvo than it is for the Lexus. I had that parked next to a BMW X5, and I was surprised that there was nothing in it. Like, this is as tall almost as a BMW X5, and it's actually wider as well than the Lexus UX. But anyways, going to the front of the car, the Lexus of course has your LED daytime running lights and triple LED beams, and the Volvo also has your daytime running lights and your adaptive headlights. And what's cool is these ones at night, they actually like shift left and right, and when I was turning at night and the first time I saw it, I was like very impressed. Now the headlight system in this is actually a little bit different, because it's got the adaptive high beams, where it can actually individually turn off each high beam, meaning that if there's a car in front of you, it can still have the high beam sensors on for the outside lights and not affecting the car in front of you, which is actually very cool. Now, as I was saying, this is the F-Sport model, so it doesn't have a front camera as standard. It is an option, which wasn't selected on this model. Now, the front camera on this also was an option, but was selected, and that's actually part of that 63 grand, which I said. Both cars have the front sensors. Now, something the Volvo has, which the Lexus does not, is actually side sensors. So that means that the Volvo can actually park itself, whereas here in Australia, none of the Lexus cars have that system. The Inscription has 19-inch wheels as standard, and as you can see, there's a very large profile there, 235 50 19 wheels. And the Lexus here has 18-inch wheels. It's actually the same profile tire, 225 50 18s. Anyways, coming through to the side, looking at the mirrors, these are very big, very chunky mirrors. And the Lexus are very slim, very sleek, but actually still very, very purposeful, because you might not see it clearly on the camera, but this is actually a window, so you can actually see through the front blind spot, which a lot of people actually forget about. Whereas here, they've tried to do the same, although that there is plastic, it is covered. They've given a little gap here, so you can sort of see what's in front of you, but still, this is very much a blind spot for the front, which a lot of people don't consider. And this gap here is actually very tiny, whereas this gap here is huge, so you get to see a lot through there. And really, it probably doesn't matter for the passenger side, but definitely for the driver's side it does, because you get to see a lot more through there. Anyways, let's have a look at the back. From here, it's really apparent how much taller the Volvo is. Like, look at that. It's a whole 4 inches taller. Volvo, with its very simplistic design there, it's traditional headlights which come from the roof and down. The Lexus, very different in comparison. It has that very nice LED running from the front to the back, from the left to the right, and it looks so sleek at night. It looks awesome. A little bit more shadow chrome, because again, we are getting the F-Sport here. The Volvo does have a little bit more sporty look with the dual tip exhaust, whereas the Lexus doesn't show anything for it, and sort of like tiny little exhaust there. So nothing too extravagant. And it does have this little lip here, black lip, and the Volvo a huge lip here. And I guess this is really preference. From the front, I really love the look of the Lexus UX. From the back, I do like the simplicity of the Volvo, but it's almost a little bit too simple. And I feel like these rear lights, instead of going in to the side of the car, because that looks like just a bit much, if it was just coming in a little bit more, would just really finish off the design. And something that the Volvo has, just in case you forgot what model you bought, there it is, Inscription on the side. Now, both cars have electric tailgates, and as you can see, the Volvo comes up really high with that door and has a massive boot, around 460 liters there. It is flat, so you can just drag things off if you needed to, if something's too heavy. And it actually does have, like over here, you pull this tab up, And it's got this little secret layer underneath, which is pretty cool. And then it's got your spare tire there, a nice big flat boot there. Now of course the Lexus is fully electric as well, and the Lexus does have a lip here, so it's got this nice lip here. The boot itself is actually very comparable. I think it's around 420 liters, and that's your little cover if you want to cover things there. Now something the Volvo has, which the Lexus unfortunately doesn't, is the kick sensor to open. If you do get the hybrid, you do get a kick sensor to open, but unfortunately we have the petrol, so we don't have the kick sensor. But of course you do have the locking feature as well, so it's sort of like you press that for 2 seconds and then it closes the boot. It's already locked the car, and the same thing goes here. Close the boot and it'll lock the car when that one's closed. Now before we go inside, both cars have keyless entry and both keyless lock, so touch there for lock and the mirrors fold in, and the same goes for the UX. So let's look inside, and the Volvo is actually very impressive, and let's have a look at the inside. Let's turn her on. Look at that, that's pretty cool. And a huge screen here. Now believe it or not, this is only 9 inches, and it's actually smaller than the Lexus UX, but because the Lexus UX is an ultra wide screen, the total surface area is actually bigger on the Volvo, and it definitely looks like it. And we got all of our air conditioning controls here, we just touch. It's very intuitive, and then you got like settings from the top there, you swipe down, and then your navigation settings are just total, all the settings here. It's a very intuitive and very simple to use screen here. I'm actually very impressed. Now you got your phones, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the air conditioning vents are huge. And what I do find really annoying is they get very loud, and it must be because they're so thin. Like when you put it on full blast, if you listen to this, it gets incredibly loud. Anyways, let's turn that off. But then coming down here, there's a few physical buttons here. Down here we have our wireless phone charger. It's a really nice big open entry point, and you stick your phone in there sort of like this, and it will charge itself. Now something I find very interesting is why does this come out? Like, is this supposed to come out? Like, that came out way too easily. And there's our telephone charging pad, but why why was that so easy to do? Anyways, down here you have sort of like an ashtray, but it isn't an ashtray because of course you can't pull it out. Cup holders here. This gear shift lever, look at that. Auto Fours Sweden, and then I don't know, is that a lobster? That is very cool. It's a very interesting gear shift because you have to keep your foot on the brake, and then you press down sort of like to go into drive, but it goes into neutral first, then you have to push it down again to go into drive, and then to go into reverse you push twice, and instead of just holding it down and going into drive, you gotta push it down twice again. That's a little bit annoying to use. Then we have our, of course, electric handbrake and of course auto hold. Now coming up to here we have a little slot here as well. I'm not sure what this is for, because sort of when you put your fingers in you sort of get stuck and it gets very inconvenient. But then our storage compartment there, we have this, I'm gonna assume this is real wood because it feels like I'm gonna get a splinter every time I touch it, but you got that wood finish there, here as well. Harman Kardon sound system, like I told you, this has been optioned up with, they call it the lifestyle package, and it comes with the Harman Kardon system, which feels metallic, very nice. And this wood does feel very cheap. Now headroom, I am on the lowest setting, and as you can see I have a massive distance between me and the roof, but let's say so that's a whole hand between me and the roof there, so plenty of space there. I am sitting rather upright, so even if you had to tilt your head a little bit, you would have a little bit more space again, but you probably don't want to be sleeping while you're driving. But there is our panoramic roof, which is really cool because it's all electric. And of course it opens as well, so that's pretty cool. Now something to be noted is in summer in Australia it gets really hot, and this mesh, you can see like we're in the shade now and it's still seeping through a lot of sunlight. So if you are balding like me, you might want to get a hat because this gets really hot during the sunny days. But something else I want to pay attention to while we are looking at the ceiling is this mesh type material which they've got for the roof ceiling, because it sort of feels like a what do they call it, a hacky sack, sort of like that material that they put coffee beans in. It just feels very cheap, and they've actually put the same material here on the side, so sort of when you are wearing shorts and your leg is rubbing there, it feels like this really harsh carpet, which is really annoying. Big clear buttons on the steering wheel, really easy to use. Automatic headlights. Wipers do not say automatic, so I'm really curious if they are. Like surely in this day and age they should be. But the steering wheel is still all manually adjustable, so in, out, up and down and around. Dual seat memory there. And coming to the door panels, this is all that little mesh type material there, but very sleek design, nice comfortable armrest here, and of course all the electronic functions. Let's have a look at the back. Now something the Volvo also has, which the Lexus doesn't, is leg extenders or dirt collectors, whatever you want to call it. And I was comfortable in that front seat there, and you can see here plenty of space for the back seats. Like that is huge. And let's jump in. Plenty of headspace there for a back seat. Well, actually I wouldn't say plenty, but 1.5 inches there for headspace. But space for the 3 passengers at the back is questionable, but plenty of legroom. Like that is a lot of legroom for taller passengers. Of course you have aircon vents in the back, and something actually pretty cool is that it's got heated seats for the rear as well. Nice armrest here and massive windows for the passengers. Anyways, let's go have a look at the Lexus. Again, keyless entry, instantaneous, and again the Lexus is very different. Like look at this, very contemporary, very stylish. Not a simple approach like the Volvo, but very out there, very outgoing. And of course, because we have the F-Sport, the seats here are just magnificent. Look at that. Look at that. That's a genuine leather accented trim there. And of course, fully electric seats there. Let's jump in. Ooh. That is a nice animation, as you can see here. Fully digital display here as well. Now, unlike the Volvo, it doesn't have the split gauge system, but it does have this digital slide setting, which is actually pretty cool. But something it doesn't have a map, which is sort of lackluster in the Lexus, because the Volvo has actually done it incredibly well. It looks very cool. And out of all the digital displays I've seen, like the Mercedes, the BMWs, I think the Volvo has hit the nail on the head. It just looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. Anyways, looking at the steering wheel here, very simplistic design. I have to say the steering wheel in this does feel a lot better. It's just an overall better feel. Here's our screen here. Now, like I said, this screen is actually, believe it or not, bigger than the Volvo screen. That's actually 10.3 inches and the Volvo was 9 inches. But because this is, again, ultra wide angle, it is got less surface area there, but it's all touchpad. So it sort of works like a mouse on a laptop. I know there's going to be people in the comment section now saying, oh, the touchpad is rubbish compared to the touch screen. You know what? I'm used to it now and it really isn't that bad. Like, finding something on the touchpad is just as easy as finding something on the touch screen, because you have to remember, with the touch screen you have to hit it in the exact spot, otherwise you're going to be jumping around everywhere. But anyways, coming up to here, we have all the air conditioning controls on the Lexus as dials, which actually makes it really easy to operate. And just to compare, we're going to do it on full blast and see if it's as loud as the Volvo. It is loud, but I would not say as loud as the Volvo. And that's actually very nice. It's actually a very warm day. Anyways, let's turn that off. Of course, dual zone climate control like the Volvo. Now, something which the Lexus has, which the Volvo doesn't, air-conditioned seating. This is the best feature here in Australia. Anyways, we have our phone charger there. Again, wireless phone charger there with a 12-volt socket hidden there. This one does not slide out. As you can see, it's in place. Cup holders, the little touchpad for our screen in front of us, all our different controls here. Again, the Lexus has buttons for almost absolutely everything to use on the screen, so you don't have to use this all the time, except for when you are doing navigation. But even then, when you're using navigation, is you can use the voice control button there, and it understands even me, like enter address.
Say the full address, including the house number, street, town or suburb, and state.
150 The Esplanade, Surfers Paradise, Queensland.
Say an item number from the list.
1.
150 The Esplanade, Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Australia. Is this correct?
Cancel.
Cancelled.
So even then, you don't even have to use this, like that's that easy. Now, coming up to here, traditional gear shift lever. Unlike the Volvo, it doesn't have a camera at the front, only sensors, but of course it does have a reversing camera there with lines, of course, to show you where you're going, and sensors absolutely everywhere. Now, if you don't like the start-stop technology, you can turn it off in the Lexus. I haven't found the button in the Volvo. I've been driving it for a couple of days. I can't find the button. And of course, you have auto hold as well. And your electric handbrake is there because, of course, you don't actually need to press it. Whenever you do go out of park, it turns off on its own. Unlike the Volvo, where you do have to press it and it is annoying. Anyways, over here we have our huge little cubby hole with extra USB ports and auxiliary port too. Customization for the steering wheel is actually all electric, so towards you, down, in and around. So really easy, really customizable. And the best thing is that once you do set up your seat and your steering wheel, you can also set up your mirrors electronically, and it actually saves on the seat memory. So when you press 1, the seat moves, the steering wheel and the mirrors. That's like that's awesome. It doesn't get better than that. Like, press it and you're in, and you don't have to worry about if someone borrows your car because they're jealous that you got the Lexus and whatnot. Just press the number 1 and you're back to where you want to be. Anyways, we have automatic wipers, automatic headlights, and of course, like I said, you have the automatic high beam system as well. That's that little green light there. Coming up to the sunroof, as you can see, we have a little tiny sunroof. It's definitely not as extravagant as the Volvo, and only a little tiny opening hole and close there. And yes, this is manual. Yes, I know it's prehistoric, but the good thing is, my bold friends, your head will not cook because this is hard plastic. So even during the summer, if you want to close it, you see that? No light seeping through there. That's a good plus. But again, if you're not bold and you do want the you can't get it. You just can't get it. Anyways, seating position, I'm now in my lowest position, and we have just less than a hand. So with the Volvo, we had my whole hand there, but now we've got 4/5 of a hand. Still plenty of headspace there. And again, if you did need to recline it a little bit, you can, and then you'll get a bit more headspace. Now, something I do love about the Lexus is the seating position. On the lowest position still gives you a little bit of an angle, whereas with the Volvo it was more upright feel, and you do get a nice sense of the road there, you know, with your eyesight, sort of like my eyesight there, and it's coming over the bonnet, and I don't feel like I'm sitting too high. Again, that's preference. Some people love the feeling of sitting higher. Anyways, let's jump in the back. Now, as you can see, it just doesn't have as much space as the Volvo. Headroom, I fit comfortably, and surprisingly, it has the same headroom as the Volvo, and very comfortable. And looking at the seating position, probably about the same with the Volvo once I am seated here. Again, you're probably not gonna have 3 passengers in here all the time. Legroom, we do not have as much as the Volvo. Like, still plenty of legroom for a small car like this, but that is not as grand as the Volvo. We do have the air conditioning vents here in the back as well, of course, and no heated seats here for the back seats, but of course you do get USB charging points there. Big windows there as well, not as big as the Volvo, but big enough there. Anyways guys, let's take them for a drive. We're going to take them both around the block. We're going to see how they feel, see how they drive, and we're just going to see which one's easier to live with. So let's take the Lexus for a drive first. Okay, so now we are driving the Lexus UX200, and what a quality finish. Like, look at this. It feels luxurious. Like this leather steering wheel, this red stitching that you get in the F-Sport. And the fact that I have air-conditioned seats now, like, don't need it on full blast, I'll have it on mid-strength. Look at it, it's a beautiful day, and it's a bit warm outside, so why not? Oh, this is good, this is good. Anyways, let's start off with the engine stats. And the Lexus UX200 has a 2-liter, naturally aspirated, which produces 126 kilowatts and 205 Newton meters of torque, which doesn't seem like much, but it actually gives quite the punch, this car. Like, let's say you need a bit of power, you go foot down, it's got a bit of like, it's got a bit of go. 0 to 100 is 8.9 seconds. The average fuel consumption of this is 5.8 liters, which is really actually pretty good. Like, for a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, no hybrid technologies, no nothing, 5.8 liters per 100 k's is very reasonable. And even in urban environments, they say it's going to do around 7 liters per 100 k's. So even in the worst start stop, it's only 7 liters per 100 k's. Like, that's nothing. The ride quality in the Lexus, it is so smooth. It is so smooth. And it's, even though we're driving the F-Sport, which is meant to have the adaptive variable suspension and the bigger wheels and sway arms to keep it a little bit stiffer, it's still so smooth. It just absorbs the bumps very nicely. And yes, the car does even run on run flat tires. Like, you wouldn't think it to be smooth, but we'll take it down the rocky road test, and we'll do a little test there. We'll see how it fares up. Now, in terms of safety features, we'll go run through them very quickly. It's got all of them. It's got the adaptive cruise control, the lane assist, the lane trace assist, which keeps you in the center of the lane, the blind spot monitors, which show you on either side if there's someone in your blind spot, rear cross traffic alert. So if you're reversing out of a spot, it's going to tell you if there's cars coming in perpendicular on each way. It's got emergency braking at the front, pedestrian detection, rear brake assist at the back. So it's got literally all of the safety features that a modern day car has. And the best thing about it is you can get this on the entry level as well for around 55 grand, 53 grand even. You can get all the safety features.
Caution, approaching school zone.
And yes, you do get a trusty lady in the car. Another safety feature. So there are 4 tests that I really want to do on both cars. There's the 0 to 60 test. There's the uphill test, so to see how it accelerates up the hill. There's the sway test. And then there's the rocky road test, which we're going to get through in a minute. But first, we're going to do the 0 to 60 test. Foot hard down. Let's go. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's she ain't quick. She ain't quick. And she got pretty loud there as well. Like hard accelerating, she got pretty loud. Now on to the rocky road test, and this is just probably the worst road here in the Gold Coast. And you can't see it, you'll probably hear it. And here's the thing, I can hear a lot of the road. I can feel it, and if you're sitting on the left side, you can definitely feel it, but it's absorbing it. Like, it's not jarring, like the car isn't bouncing, but you can feel a sort of vibration, sort of something's happening, you know. Anyways, now let's do a sway test. And now the biggest thing is with the Lexus is that it's got two different drive modes. It's got the normal drive mode, and because it's got the adaptive variable suspension in the F-Sport, we got the Sports Plus as well. So we're going to test out both with just the normal mode, going 45 k's an hour, left to right. Whoa, whoa, whoa! That was a lot of roll. That's a lot of roll. Wow, wow. Okay, now let's turn into sport suspension. Let's try again. 45. Wow. That is still a lot of body roll. Wow, that was interesting to say the least. Right, let's go here. Go around the corner. Around the corner it fares nicely, but doing the sway test, wow, that was painful. Wow. Anyways, final test we're going to do the uphill test from 0, standing still, foot hard down. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, we got up to 65 by that point. Valiant effort. Valiant effort. Like, that was a good effort. Like, here's one thing I've noticed with the Lexus is we're going 50 k's an hour here, and it's just gliding along. Like, it's so smooth. It's so smooth. And that's the thing I've noticed with driving the Lexus is the more I drive it, the more comfier I feel, especially in these seats. Like, these are very comfy seats. Probably not if I was a bigger chap or a bigger lady. They wouldn't be the most comfortable, just because these are very protruding. But they are very cozy. The fact that the seats are fully electric and the steering wheel is fully electric, and that saves with the seat memory. Just press the button, and yep, straight back in my position. The viewing angles, everything, like, it's easy to see out of. The windshield is massive, it's so clear. My viewing angle for a small SUV is good, and again, I'm on the lowest position, but if you are shorter, you can get very you can get very high up. Okay, I need to come down. It's just a very comfortable car. Like, these windows are massive. The back window is super clear. Like, yes, it is narrow, but I can see the whole car behind me. Like, it's very clear, very visible, and I feel very cozy in it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's a very cozy feel, and that's why I'm a big fan of the UX, because like you can't hear it. Yes, if I'm accelerating hard, I can hear all of it, but now, like, it's such a quiet drive and I can whisper. I'm very impressed with the Lexus. I am very happy with it. I probably won't get the F-Sport. I would have to say that the Sports Luxury is more of a comparator to a Volvo. Let's get into the Volvo now. Okay, so now we are driving the Volvo XC40, and what a different car. Like, its feeling, its seating position, just absolutely everything. I will say straight off the bat that it doesn't have the same luxurious feel that the Lexus has. Just the materials used are not as, I wouldn't say exquisite. I wouldn't say the Lexus was exquisite, but I wouldn't say that this is a very luxurious feel in terms of materials. Now, it is a very luxurious feel in terms of all the technology around it. Like, that screen there, I said this earlier, I think that is probably the best electronic dash that any car manufacturer has made. It's just so simplistic and so clean and very elegant finish there. Like, this screen here is so simple to use. As far as touch screens go, like, to be able to control your temperature that easily, that's pretty awesome. Anyways, let's start off with the engine, because this is the same sized engine. It's a 2-liter engine, but it is turbocharged, so it does have a little bit more power. It's got 140 kilowatts and 300 newton meters of torque, which in terms of kilowatt output is not much different to the Lexus. But in terms of torque, it's got 50% more than the Lexus, so you'd think it would be significantly quicker. But it isn't. That's the interesting thing, because this car is just under 200 kilos heavier than the Lexus. Like, that's a lot of weight. Like, the Lexus does 0 to 100 in 8.9 and this does it in 8.5, so it's 0.4 of a second quicker, which really is not a lot. You'd think the turbocharge and all that extra pushing power would really bring it up a level. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And here's the worst part. It's fuel efficiency. Here's the thing. It isn't fuel efficient. Like, at its combined level, it does 7.4 liters per 100 Ks. At its combined level, 7.4 liters per 100 Ks. Like, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. As around town, in sort of urban environments like this, it does 9.7 liters per 100 Ks. 9.7 liters per 100 Ks. Like, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Oh my goodness, 9.7 liters. And that is an astounding difference between the Volvo and the Lexus, because who would want to spend 3 liters per 100 kilometers difference for 0.4 of a second quicker car? Like, it ain't that much quicker. Anyways, let's do the sway test. So the car only has one suspension mode, it's just normal. Even in dynamic mode, it just changes the engine, nothing to do with suspension. And we're doing the same, 45 k's an hour, left to right. Oh, that was horrible. What was that? I was turning the wheel and the car wasn't turning. What was that? Wait, let's try one more time. It's so slow to respond. What was that? Oh my goodness. Now we're at our spot again. Let's do the 0 to 60 test. And foot hard down. Yeah, wow. It's definitely quicker. That's very impressive. And not as loud as the Lexus, not as loud as the acceleration, but that was still pretty loud. I do love the turbo noises. There's like, it's very small, very small. Now anyways, let's do the rocky road test. And here we are on the rocky road. You can definitely hear a lot more in this. It's absorbing it rather nicely, But yeah, you can, the car definitely sways a little bit more. Like, it's a bit harsher, this car, and yeah, it is rather noticeable that it is harsher, you know. And that's the biggest thing, because the Volvo is sitting so much higher than the Lexus, it does have to have a bit more hardness to it, so we don't tip over the edge when we go around the corner, you know. So you'd expect a little bit more harshness. But okay, here's another average road. look, it absorbs the bumps rather nicely, but you can definitely feel a lot more vibrations in this. And look, something to be mindful of as well is we are driving on bigger wheels, like the 19-inch wheels. I'll be very curious to test out 18-inch wheels on this car. But anyways, okay, and now let's do the final test, the uphill test. And we're stopped and foot hard down. Okay, it does get pretty loud. And 65 again. Well, well, isn't that surprising? I started at the same spot as I started in the Lexus, and my foot was hard down just like the Lexus, and I stopped accelerating at the same spot as the Lexus, and on the uphill test we got to 65 again. There you go, all that extra power and all that extra fuel this car burns, and you're not really going that much faster. Oh, our tests, oh, these are funny. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did say there was something wrong with one of the cars. And it obviously wasn't the Lexus. And here's the thing, like, as soon as I jumped in this car, as soon as I jumped into it, I felt something wasn't right. I just felt something wasn't right. And I don't know, the more I kept driving, I'm trying to figure it out, because I'm like, okay, my seating position's a little bit awkward because I'm sitting very upright, that's fair. I brought the steering wheel towards me, so I'm sort of like, you know, I like, this is where I'd usually like to sit. And then I realized my right shoulder is very far back. Like I am like, if I sit back, and you won't be able to see it from there, but my right shoulder is going in. The seat is warped. Like, the base is fine, but the seat, the back part of the seat, it's warped. It's a 1-year-old car. Like, it's just clicked over 10,000 Ks. Like, it's a 1-year-old car, and the seat is warped. Like, I'm sitting back, like, for me to sit forward, my left side of my back is sitting on the seat, but my right side isn't. And okay, let me show you from outside the car. Okay, so now we're having a proper side profile of the seat, and have a look at that. Look how much further forward that part of the seat is compared to this seat. Like, that is a massive warp. Like, we're properly on the side, there's a massive warp. Like, look at that. Are you kidding me? And the more I'm driving it, the more uncomfortable I'm getting. Like, it's very annoying. It's a 1-year-old car. How's that happened? With the Volvo, as I've already noted, the quality of the materials just isn't as good as the Lexus. Like, this steering wheel, like, yes, it's a leather steering wheel, but it feels plastic. It feels rubbery. The steering wheel is vague, as you saw with the sway test. Like, it took 5 seconds for the car to register. I was turning the other way. Like, it's so delayed. It's so delayed. You feel a lot more harshness in the road. It just isn't as smooth as the Lexus. Even this carpet here on the left, which is rubbing against my leg, it's a very it's a very unpleasant feeling if you're wearing shorts. Like, you're wearing jeans, yeah, you're not gonna feel any different, but it's a very very average sensation. The outside, I think, is done very well, but the internals, it does have a very cheap feel. And to sum it up, I am very impressed with the Volvo. I think they've done a great job styling it. I think they've done a great job with the technology, because this is fantastic. And like, how easy everything is to use, you know, it's just so intuitive. The technology is amazing, but there is a lot of stuff which is taken away from it, and it's one of those things that you go for a test drive, you wouldn't realize, but the longer you live with it, you start to realize, like, you're like, oh shit, I made a mistake. And that's probably why, as a 1-year-old car, the person has traded it in already. To really sum it up, which one would I choose between the two of them to live with every single day? It would definitely be the Lexus. Like, it's smoother, it's more comfortable, it's a lot more refined, the quality of materials are a lot better, the seats don't warp after 1 year, and it's just an overall nicer drive.